Welcome back, Houston Hacks fans. It is week 10, and we are taking on none other than the Copperajazz. Copperajazz are coached by Ben, also known as Stercules, also known as, he switched his name up a few different times. I used to know him as Nido Knight for a long time. Really, really nice guy. A lot of respect for the man. And although if you check the standings, seeing his team at 1-7, he actually is a very, very good player. I think he's just not a big fan of his team, is kind of what he told me as well. But I mean, Ben's a player who's been in the championship game before, so we definitely cannot underestimate him and his squad, as he has some pretty scary things. Okay. Looking at his team initially, things that jump out to me. Obviously, he's got the sand option, and he's brought it almost every single week, or most weeks, in fact. He doesn't have to. But out of everything, the Como actually scares me the most. Just being able to set up that Soul Blaze and just kill things, or use the throat spray tech, possibly belly drumming. I don't know if that is Gen 8 approved for pre-home or not, but regardless, a lot of setup options if he wants to go offensive, and I think defensive Como is just as good, or can get a ton of value, just because you have to respect the fact that he could be set up Como, which means that you need to prep for it. And so just getting value from me prepping for that, but then he brings defensive Stealth Rocks or something like that, because my team does not like Stealth Rocks at all, especially Arcanine. Or Arcanine, as who says that? One of the YouTubers says Arcanine. But anyways, still a little bit sick. We're getting over it. But those are the main threats that I see. He's got a multitude of defensive mons, Jellicent, Sableye, both very, very annoying. And another threat is this Cramorant. This Cramorant actually does work against my team. My Jolteon has a really bad matchup, and I don't really want to bring it. And that would be the natural check to Cramorant. But you'll see when I look at my team, I decide to not bring coverage for it on my Mew or my Claydol. I did bring coverage for it on my Arcanine because I was kind of scared of the Cramorant. Now, I do have enough priority on my team. I mean, I have a ton. I have Extreme Speed. I have Vacuum Wave and Bullet Punch. I have Vacuum Wave on Mew. I have Ice Shard on Piloswine. I got Sucker Punch on Grimmsnarl. I have First Impression, Sucker Punch, and Aqua Jet on Glossopod. Tons of priority, so I'm not too worried about it, but it's speed. It's, faster than most of my team. And then with flying and water coverage, it actually kind of hits everything pretty hard. I don't really have any good water switch-ins, especially ones that can take flying coverage as well. So I'm actually kind of worried about the Cramorant being like Specs or some type of offensive variant. And it does, all it really needs is Air Slash and Surf to do some damage to my team. Heliolisk, as always, is a threat. I really love that mon, especially at speed tier. Being able to use U-Turn, being able to use Volt Switch, being able to use Grass Knot. It's one of the electric types that can take on ground types, which is really, really nice. Just a big threat. And then normal coverage is actually pretty good. You're going to hit everything pretty solid. Obviously, I don't have a ghost type anymore. So Specs Hyper Voice actually looks pretty good against my team now that I look at it. That's actually a major threat. So I didn't really think Alcremie was a big threat until I did some prep and actually played my mock battle. Acid Armor plus Calm Mind Alcremie. Alcremie's insanely bulky, especially if it's invested defensively, because its special defense is so high. So basically, you get one Acid Armor off, and then Alcremie just wins. I opted to bring Extreme Speed on Arcanine instead of Roar. Although Roar would have protected me against this set against Alcremie, so I was a little bit worried about that. But I was hoping I would get Toxic Spikes up early and not have to worry about some of his setup mons, as well as I wish Piloswine has some cool moves that I just can't use. Like Endeavor would be a really fun move to use, or On Piloswine, I'd really like to use Roar as well, just to shut down setup sweepers and just get them out of there. So unfortunately, Piloswine doesn't get those for pre-home, but that's just the way it goes. Next season, will be super exciting because we'll be able to use all these moves that are kind of locked away. It'll be just a brand new meta in general. So yeah, looking at my team, I experimented with Togechick a little bit. No, I didn't. Togechick is horrible. It's a horrible matchup, I feel like. I did look at Drampa just a tiny bit, as it's a pretty good breaker, but opted for a harder hitting Glossopod instead. So let's just go check out this team. Here's my team builder. My Grimmsnarl, pretty threatening Mon. I'm really, really warming up to it. I did not like it to start the season, actually. I just really was having a hard time figuring out what I wanted to bring. And then I started bringing the screens version, and now have brought some more offensive ones. Actually, turning out that I really do like Grimmsnarl a lot. I've been feeding it some garbage stat padding kills here at the end the past few games. But no, very good mod with a lot of good coverage. I did experiment with the nasty plot Grimmsnarl, so I actually had nasty plot, dual dark and fairy coverage, draining kiss for fairy, because I knew he had a couple will whispers and I wanted to be able to hit his mons better. But I realized, why not just run substitute? It does the same thing, preventing those will-o-wisps, and then I can still have that grass coverage, because that grass coverage is really key against his Jellicent, as well against his it hits Excadrill for neutral. It hits Hippowdon just a little bit below 50%. And my goal was to get these toxic spikes up so he couldn't set up with certain mons. And so getting those toxic spike ups was key, because then I knew Power Whip could have been a 2-hit KO on a Hippowdon, especially once I get that substitute off. But also having the Bibiri Berry, it was my switch into Como if it did ever get set up, and then hopefully be able to survive with the Bibiri Berry. I did have a different EV spread that could take Boom Burst, +2 Boom Burst, and a +2 Poison Jab, or actually a +1 Poison Jab rather. But I decided to opt for the attack, as I really wanted that Power Whip after T-Spikes to kill 2-hit KO the Hippowdon. But anyways, moving on, Mew and Claydol, I'll do them together, because I originally, instead of Aurora Sphere, I had Earth Power, so I had the exact same set with Mew and Claydol, which is hilarious. But basically, I needed mons that could just come in and just throw out attacks. That was kind of the goal here, is we're going to bring out mons and we are going to pressure him. And if he decides to switch around, well, we're going to do a lot of damage regardless. So, especially if we can get these toxic spikes up. Those are pretty clutch. We never did get them up, but regardless, I did bring Aura Sphere, because I did Aura Sphere. If I had Earth Power, I really wouldn't have it. Not that Aura Sphere hits Cramorant very well, but at least it hits Cramorant. So I was thinking Cramorant might be a switch of his. I actually was thinking like max HP, like max speed or something. Let's see, I would probably be faster than Claydol, but not faster than Toxicroak. And then I think Cramorant gets Roost, like Roost, Defog, Air Slash, and Surf would have been like nasty. He brought offensive is what he wound up bringing, which was really good regardless. But I just think a little more, like if he could have healed his Cramorant, that would have been kind of a big problem for me. But regardless, we bring all the attacking moves and all the coverage in the world. Again, bringing those expert belts, so that we basically get not necessarily a life orb boost, but a decent boost, especially when we're hitting things super effectively. Dazzling Gleam for the Como, Grass Knot for Hippo plus Jellicent, and then Earth Power was to kill Excadrill and Heliolisk, or Aura Sphere was to hit Excadrill and Heliolisk. So no, good mons. Obviously, very, very offensive, both of which. Just trying to hit as hard as we could and make sure that we were chunking his team. Also, Mew is fast enough, and Claydol was honestly pretty fast against this team as well, to be able to outspeed pretty much everything and then just clean up the game. So let's keep on going down. Piloswine has just become a great glue to my team ever since I got it in week, I believe, 7 or 8. But basically, with its bulk, I'm able to take so many hits. I pretty much can't get 2-hit KO'd by like any mon on the planet that doesn't do super effective damage. Even if it does super effective damage, it still doesn't do a ton. This mon is just unbelievably bulky with the Eviolite. So just really fun to have. And plus with the ice and the earthquake coverage, I just can't stress how well it can pressure back on a team. I decided to elect to bring the Icicle Spear this time, trying to just get decent damage, but most importantly, just damage. I really couldn't afford to miss, and it was better for me to just get 2 hits on things rather than completely miss an Icicle Crash. And so I decided to just go for the Spear this time. I did want to run Roar instead of Icicle Spear and just opt for the Earthquake, Ice Shard, Stealth Rock option, but that's okay. Pillow Swine, I actually wound up clicking Icicle Spear in this game, and Pillow Swine just a good option, just a really good glue piece to move around with. Arcanine, again, bringing super offensive Arcanine. So we have 3 Mons that just click buttons on his team against his team. So Wild Charge was literally just for the Cramorant, and we're also faster than the Cramorant. Flare Blitz, Play Rough, and I was going to switch this to Roar, just because I was scared of the Alcremie, but luckily he didn't bring Alcremie, so I was able to get away with bringing Extreme Speed, because Life Orb Extreme Speed does a ton of damage, especially cleaning up that Cramorant. Not that I really needed it, because it was faster, but in case he was like, in case he was Choice Scarf or something, as well as cleaning up that Heliolisk. I thought the Heliolisk would be kind of annoying to deal with as well. So that Extreme Speed would have been super nice. Lastly, we have the Glossopod. Did opt for the Life Orb again this week. Life Orb just, again, with Adamant Attack, does a ton of damage. Having that Life Orb with the priority, so First Impression Aqua Jet. First Impression is going to chunk anything that comes in, even if it's resisted. And then Aqua Jet is able to deal, I believe, like 75 to like 90 against his Excadrill in case that thing ever got going. Plus, even a Rock Slide, unless it was like Life Orb, couldn't do over 50% back to Glossopod. So even if he was Passo, I still could deal, 30 to 40% to the Excadrill, and then hopefully come back later as long as he doesn't crit me or get an SD off. So just a nasty, nasty Pokemon. I've been opting for Life Orb rather than Citrus Berry. The Life Orb just allows me so much more damage, especially when this thing is really just a revenge killer. It just comes in, clicks First Impression, and cleans things up with Aqua Jet. So just a threat. Again, we brought a lot of speed on it this week because even though it's base 40 speed, with Adamant, and I'm investing 220 here, I could outspeed the Alcremie if he went completely defensive. And a lot of those slow mons at 60 range mons, you don't really run a lot of speed on anyways, because they're not outspeeding the faster ones. But so this is really nice that the Glossopod can kind of sneak up on some Pokemon, and I can still run Adamant. So just a good overall mon. I did have the Throat Chop for the Jellicent, because that was doing a little bit over 50% depending on if he was defensive or not. But allowing to 2-hit KO the Jellicent was pretty clutch, because obviously that's a pretty good switch in with Water Absorb. All right, enough of me talking. Sorry, that took a long time. Let's go to this battle. So let's go to this battle. Let's just erase all of the writing. All right, so we are dealing with Mega Mushu right off the bat. I decided to go with Claydol because Claydol pretty much hits everything. I thought actually Cramorant was actually a pretty good lead for him. So I was thinking about leading Arcanine, as Arcanine would outspeed his entire team and be able to hit things for super effective damage. I was slightly worried about the Hippo lead, and so that's why I decided to stick with the Claydol. Although Arcanine with Play Rough could destroy the Mushu, as well as Flare Blitz kills Play Rough. Flare Blitz does like 40% to him, but I don't want to take an Earthquake. And then Cramorant, I would just Wild Charge. Same with the Jellicent, I'd probably just straight up Wild Charge, and just because I can't get burned, and Scald wouldn't do that much to me. So Arcanine would have been a fine lead, but we decided to go with the Heimdall. And we're just going to go for the Dazzling Gleam. This will kill if he is not max HP. If he's max HP, I still have a chance to kill, but not 100% of the time. He goes for the substitute. We're able to pop that. And here I really thought about going for Nasty Plot because it didn't make sense for him to stay in. I kind of wish I would have made the power play. But also at the same time, this thing is a major threat, and I really can't allow it to set up. So I think just opting for the Dazzling Gleam was a pretty good move on my part. So here I go for the Nasty Plot, and this is unique. So he tricks, but it's a slow trick, and so I'm able to still pick my move on the next turn, and I get off what literally is a +3 Grass Knot, which just absolutely destroys the Jellicent, getting that thing out of the way. But Grass Knot actually hits his entire team fairly well. And so I was like, oh no, is he just going to set up on me? Is this going to be over this quick? But I calced it, and +3 Grass Knot. I'll show it here right now. I mean, it depends how much HP actually winds up running. But +3 Grass Knot, as you see, I switched the choice specs in for the Expert Belt, is always breaking his sub unless he has some type of HP invested. So +3 Grass Knot, just being really, really clutch and able to break his sub. So he subs. I'm able to break it. I think Ben mentioned that he wanted to sub one more time. I think that wouldn't have allowed him to set up with the setup move that he used. So I don't think that would have mattered. But luckily, the Grass Knot is able to kill because I did have a ton of priority left to take care of him. Here, I opt to stay in on the Cramorant because I wanted some damage. That thing is a big threat. I wanted to get some damage off. I think Heimdall actually would have been a great switch in and Drill later, but and we'll see. Drill did run X Scissor, which makes a lot of sense. But having it in the back might not have been the worst idea in the world. My switch-ins were pretty minimal because the Mew didn't have coverage to hit Cramorant. So basically, I didn't really have anything to switch in a Surf on. So I decided to just take the damage, sack my Heimdall, and unfortunately, he does get the stupid form off again. I bring in the Piloswine because I know he can't 2-hit KO me. I'm hoping for 3 Icicle Spears here. I get 1, obviously. I get 2. And if I would have got 1 more, then I could have Ice Sharded and been just fine and killed this Cramorant. But unfortunately, I only get 2. This is one of the moments where it would have been really, really nice to have the Icicle crash and hit a 90% shot. But if I would have missed, it would have cost me a lot. So I'm still glad I went for Icicle Spear. It's fine. We missed it's a 66% chance not to do a two shot, a 33% chance to do a 2 shot. So, oh well, we missed it. That's fine. But that would have been really nice to hit because I think it would have helped the differential out a little bit. We might have had to sack it later. I can't really remember. So we bring out Glossopod because we want Glossopod to take a Surf. And then First Impression, the Bird, but he winds up switching to his Loki, the Sableye. I do not want to get Will-O-Wisp, so I switch to Freyr, my Grimmsnarl, and he goes for Sucker Punch. Then I go for the sub because it's very, very free, and now I'm able to get off the Power Whip. It does connect. I'm able to get a good chunk of damage off against the Hippopotamus, which is really, really nice. And then here I switch to my Mew having very nice natural bulk. And now I can pressure this thing with a Grass Knot. So I'm able to go for that Grass Knot as that would have done damage to everything else that he really doesn't want to take. I go for the Dazzling Gleam here, lowering down his Excadrill. I'm able to switch in my Piloswine because I'm trying to sack it. But this is actually really nice. He's not able to kill me because he goes for the X-Scissor, so I'm able to get more damage off. Now my Aqua Jet kills no matter what, unless he has Passo Berry. But even then, he can't do enough damage to my Glossopod. So Glossopod is able to come in for free, get the Aqua Jet off, take out the Excadrill, his major threat. This was a high roll. I think this was max high roll. I don't think this was supposed to kill, but luckily it did. And then finally, my plan was to liquidate here. I didn't have a bug move that I could hit it with. It would have done about 50%. And I decided to give Freyr the last kill over the Arcanine, which I could have gave the kill as well. I think they're both sitting at 5 and 5. But if we go and look, let's just look at my homepage here. We are 5-4, or actually 6-4 now, with +8 overall once this gets put in. But Arcanine did not get into the game. Grimmsnarl able to pick up 1 kill, so it'll be 6-5. Mew picked up 1 kill, so now it's 9-6. I did kind of want to give that kill to Mew because I do want to up its stats just a little bit. Jolteon, poor Jolteon hasn't seen the light of day for like the last 5-6 games. As it starts off pretty hot. I mean, my hottest mon at 5-2. That's pretty good. But just not having the coverage just makes it really difficult. I think next season, whoever gets Jolteon, I hope they put it on like a Sun team or a team that has a Rain option. I just think Jolteon under Rain or under Sun is so much better because it's able to pick up that Weather Ball coverage with whatever it has. And 100 power boosted by the Rain or 100 power boosted by the Sun, it actually does a ton of damage. So I think Jolteon under some type of weather would be really, really fun to run. I think even under sand would be kind of fun. I mean, at least you get a rock type move. Rock type coverage is pretty good. But again, Piloswine doing what Piloswine does, just basically being the glue of the team. And then Glossopod picking up 2 more kills. So Glossopod's actually going to sneak up there, get to 6-3, improve that KD. Because that thing's a real threat. I'm really enjoying the Life Orb, just being able to First Impression and then Aqua Jet things that are faster, as well as putting a ton of speed on it to outspeed. Looking at this matchup, it doesn't look like there's really much that Glossopod's going to, be faster than. But if he wants to run a speedy Hippowdon, that works in my favor. Now all of a sudden that puts pressure from my Grimmsnarl, because now my Grimmsnarl's 2-hit KOing with Power Whip. So I mean, teams can opt to use their speed against the Glossopod, but that's going to be taking EVs away from things that they want to do. So in the end of the day, it's just putting on some pressure on my opponent. So super fun week. I really do like making these videos. I think I might in the future try to make a few more, especially leading up to our next draft or in the playoffs. Maybe I'll do some playoff breakdown or pre-playoff hype here after our last week. But I do have to hype up our last week of the season. We are taking on, and let me just go to the ranking here. We are taking on the Washington Alakazams. So great matchup. Houston Hacks and the Washington Alakazams, we met in the championship game last season. Really fun game. I just felt like I didn't have a very good matchup. I didn't have the firepower that I needed to beat Henrik. It was a very close game in the end. But I'm just super excited to actually match up again and play him. He's a very, very good player. I'm very glad to have him in our league. So I'm excited. But that'll be a great matchup next week. Big hype. I don't think it'll change anything. I think, if anything, it'll move me into the 2-seed spot. But I don't think we're going to go any further than the 2-seed, obviously, with Ball and the California Clobopus being 8-0. So good luck. I know pretty cool match coming up between Ball and Cooper. No. They don't play yet. They don't play this entire season. Ball and Cole. So that's definitely one to look at. I think that'll be a fun one. But otherwise, I'll see y'all later. Peace.